Once upon a time, in the heart of an African village called Elama, where the men were great warriors, merchants, great farmers with vast farmlands, the women of the kingdom of Elama were beautifully endowed with shiny looking skin, luscious afro hair, and sonorous voices. The young maidens of the kingdom were richly endowed with beauty. Of all the beautiful maidens in the kingdom was the king's daughter, Erimma. Erimma was indeed a sight to behold. Her beauty dazzled like the morning sun of the savannah. When she walks, it seems like her feet barely touch the ground. Always adorned in one of the finest beauty apparels in Eluama kingdom. Erimma was indeed gracious and graceful. She was the only daughter of the king and queen of Eluama kingdom. Of the king's 6 children, she was the apple of his eyes. The king, Ojaja, loved Erimma so much because she reminded him of his dear mother who passed away years ago. When Erimma was born after the arrival of 5 boys, the oracle had foretold the king, as tradition demands, that Erimma was the reincarnate of his mother. King Ojaja did everything the princess requested, to the annoyance of her brothers, who felt their father, the king, gave her more attention and love. Erimma was also dearly loved by the villagers, as she was intelligent, always cheerful, and she was a great dancer. Despite all her endowing qualities, Erimma was quite proud and feels nobody was as good or as beautiful as she was. This made her to reject every suitor that came for her hand in marriage. King Ojaja has become worried because his beautiful damsel, Erimma, was due to be married but has remained unmarried. So many eligible suitors from neighboring kingdoms have come to ask for Erimma's hand in marriage. Different kinds of men, ranging from warriors, merchants, farmers, as well as princes from different kingdoms, have all sought for Erimma's hand in marriage, all to no avail. Erimma's beauty has gotten to her, and she feels none of them were good enough, and this made her parents, the king and the queen, very, very worried. Erimma's brothers, they also tried to cajole her into finding a suitable man. They have also tried to matchmake her with their friends. Erimma found none of them eligible. She was fierce and an independent princess who wanted to be tied down to a man she didn't love. One day, Erimma's father, King Ojaja, came up with an idea to get his beautiful daughter to settle down in marriage. He got his men on guards to send emissaries to other villages and kingdoms, to all the finest young men from other kingdoms, about a competition where they can display their talent, their wealth, or their skills to win his daughter's hand in marriage. He promised to give up to half of his wealth to anyone who could win the heart of the princess. The words went out to other neighboring villages and kingdoms. The date for the contest was set, and both the king, Princess Erimma, and the whole village anticipated and looked forward to Erimma finding her ideal husband. The people of Eluama kingdom were buzzing with excitement, as this contest would mark a big celebration where there will be plenty of food, dancing, and marrying. While everyone else appeared happy, the king and the princess and the queen, they were worried. The king was worried that the princess might not find her ideal husband and end up becoming a laughingstock in the village. On the very set day, young men from far and near gathered to display their skills to the admiration of all. The villagers were buzzing with excitement. There was different dance group that displayed to the admiration and the cheering of the crowd that entertained the people. The king sat on his throne with his queen and made the proclamation that anyone his daughter finds attractive will be her husband and a potential heir to the throne. The young men came out one after the other, displaying their different skills and talents, from singing to dancing. Some exhibited their strength in wrestling, and some exhibited their display of wealth. But the princess found none of them attractive or worthy. Suddenly, a man appeared from within the crowd and stood in front of the king. He was dressed in glowing and radiant apparel. His skin was shining and radiant. The princess was immediately drawn towards him, to the amazement of everyone, including her parents. The princess stood up and went to the young man and announced to her father and the whole kingdom that she found him attractive and has chosen him as her prospective husband. The king was both surprised and pleased. The whole villagers who has come to witness the event erupted in happy cheers as the princess has found the man of her dreams. Without further delay, the king asked them to come forward for his royal blessings, for the king was afraid that the princess might change her mind, and he quickly blessed them. There was happy cheers, singing and dancing among the villagers. The king declared eating, drinking, and feasting to carry on throughout the night. However, while the feasting was going on, the princess Erimma, newly found husband, told the king, the queen, and the princess and her brothers that they needed to leave that night to his village so he can take the princess to show his people, and that they will come back at a later date with his people to have a formal marriage celebration where both him and his people can attend and enjoy the celebration. The king, in his excitement, agreed. He ordered that some guards and maidens to accompany the princess as she journeys to her new home. But Erimma's new husband refused, and he said they'll be going all alone and do not need any form of escort. The queen was shocked and perplexed. She resisted and insisted that the princess must be accompanied by some escorts, but the princess' husband, whom she has selected as her husband, bluntly refused. He promised the king and the queen that they would have no escort and they would return from his hometown in due course. The king, who has been blinded by his daughter's decision to marry somebody who they have regarded as a fine and eligible gentleman, he quickly agreed. However, he did not realize that that was the doom of his lovely daughter. The princess and her new husband were escorted to the outskirts of the village by the maidens and the palace guard, and on the instruction of the new chosen husband, they bid them farewell and journeyed all alone to her new home. They crossed rivers and they went through big thick bushes as they journeyed along. The princess' new husband barely spoke to her, and she realized she does not even know his name, the name of his village, or where exactly he was from. The princess then tried to ask him all this, and he told her not to worry, that she will soon find out all the details about him. They kept on journeying onto the forest, and the princess noticed that as they got to certain spots, her new husband took off different clothing items he wore and gave them to different people they met along the way. She thought he was just being generous, and when she asked him, he told her not to worry, that she would soon find out why. The princess' new husband gave out all his clothes to different people, and as they got to a point where they met some people, he proceeded to take out his body parts one after the other and gave it to different people. The princess was in absolute shock. She screamed and cried and shouted for help because it has dawned on her that the man she chose as her husband was not a real human being. She tried to run but was surrounded by all these ghosts who were laughing and mocking at her. It was too late for her. The princess cried and kept screaming, calling on the gods of her father's land to deliver her. Meanwhile, at the palace, the king and queen has become so worried when they realized that they did not know the name of the princess' new husband, his village, or where he came from. The king realized that they have all been bewitched. He quickly sent for the chief priest of the land. When the chief priest came, the king narrated what has happened, and the chief priest confirmed that indeed that they all have been bewitched. He consulted with the oracle and confirmed that the princess' new husband was a ghost and that the princess was in terrible danger. The oracle demanded for some sacrifice to be done with the king in order to quickly save the princess from the doom she has brought upon herself. The oracle further directed the strong diviners, enchanters, in company of the palace warriors, to trace the princess and return her back to the palace safely and well. The diviners, spiritualists, and warriors of the kingdom set out immediately with the help of the spiritualists. They were able to trace the forests where the princess was. They found the princess laid in the forest. It took the intervention of the spiritualists to bring her back to life, as she was exhausted from the torment the ghost had to make her go through. They took the princess back to their kingdom and met a crowd at the palace who were so happy to see the princess again. The princess, on seeing her parents, the king and the queen, she cried and begged her parents for forgiveness and promised to choose a husband from her own kingdom. The king accepted her back. There was big feast of celebration that the princess was rescued from the ghost alive and reunited back to her kingdom. There was so much joy, so much celebration. It was obvious that the princess Erimma has learnt her lesson in a very hard way. I hope you love our story. Go ahead and subscribe for more beautiful stories like this. See you in our next video. Bye.